Hi, so let's talk about backlogs in gaming. Those games that you pick up and put on the shelf and on the hold. When the backlog grows, it may become increasingly difficult to figure out where to start unwrapping this pile. Some consider backlogs as a list of shame, while some see it library, where you pick up a game whenever you feel like it. But what connects the most of us is that we have backlog of some sort, whether it's manageable or not. My number one advice on taking out your backlog is to start by tackling your physical games. But why the physical games, you might ask? The answer is quite simple. Physical games take the most amount of space, and tackling them first may reduce your backlog anxiety. Taking down your physical backlog first helps you to cope with your choice paralysis too. Choice paralysis is that thing where you stare at your game shelf and try to decide what games do you want to tag next. It may even take so much time and become so tiresome burden to simply make a choice that you end up playing nothing at all. Or then you may want to play a familiar, already beaten game that's within your comfort zone. That's why it's important to start defeating your physical backlog. It reduces choice paralysis. It may be a good start on your journey to take out or at least manage your backlog. Finally, taking down your physical backlog first helps you to decide what games do you want to keep in your collection and what to sell or trade with other players or with video game stores. Games value usually tends to decrease as time goes by, so getting the best deals out there with physical games requires you to start from them. There are of course games which price may also temporarily skyrocket as time goes on. You may want to Google a website called Video Game Price Charts if you think you have some of those games sitting in your collection. You have lots of games and a limited amount of free time. It is no brainer that some prioritizing is needed in order to solve that issue. But where you should start and what tools you need for it. Here's my take on it. Make a list of games you want to beat and rank them by which is the most realistic starting point for you. Backloggery.com is a great website for you to start listing your backlog, as it gives you nice feedback as you work your way through the backlog. It also has a cool option called Fortune Cookie that gives you a random game recommendations from your collection. As for starting to tackle your backlog, an indie game is often a good stepping point, since they often tend to be short and sweet. If you are unsure where to start, go to a website called howlongtobeat.com and find out which games are fastest to beat. And once you manage to beat something, cherish the moment and share it via online social media. Don't be afraid to feel good about yourself. When you have your games listed and your starting game chosen, you focus solely on playing one or two titles not to get distracted. You might also want to switch between different genres to avoid video game burnout, and yes, it is a thing. Once you have chosen your games, make sure that they are easily accessible. For example, leave a game's disc in console, so all you need to do is boot up and play. Minimize your excuses not to play those games by booking time to play and by planning things ahead. That should put you on a good path, and once you have completed few games, others will follow, and soon your backlog is falling like dominoes. Backlogs are often born of phenomena of buying more games than completing. Reconsider, do you actually need to buy new games if your backlog is already as big as a mountain? If you are compelled to buy that new and hot game that has just been released, at least make a deal with yourself. Beat at least 2 games from your backlog before buying a new one. Also consider of getting new games digitally if possible, and by doing so relieving your physical backlog and reducing choice paralysis. Remember that games are meant to be played, not to be shelved. If a game has been sitting on your backlog for years, are you actually going to play it one day, or is the game going to be dated by then? And please be honest with yourself. Remember that playing games is meant to be fun. Don't force yourself tackling 100 hours long RPGs time after time if it's not your jam, no matter what other people tell you to. Remember that it's okay to not like some games you bought. Just remember, try at least give game a shot, so you don't later feel that you're missing out on something. Also, remember that you don't have to complete each game to 100%. Ask yourself, what do you want from these games? And when you have got it, you can cross those games off your backlog. Just last year I finished 14 or so titles, not including those ones that I sold or traded in, while buying 2 to 4 new titles. Here are the games that I managed to beat during the 2020. Dead or Alive Dimensions, New Super Mario Bros. 2, 3DS, Pac-Man Championship Edition, Detroit Become Human, Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, Watch Dogs Bad Blood DLC, Halo 2, Dead or Alive 3, Guitar Hero 5, Watch Dogs 2, Avengers, Metal Slug 7 DS, New Super Mario Bros. U. My overall backlog is about 80 titles, of which physical games are about 10 titles. Overall, I'd call my backlog pretty manageable, since it's about 45% of my entire game collection, and it has been going down for about 14 titles in each year or so, not including the games I traded or sold away. Besides tackling my backlog, I also do purges and downsize my collection occasionally. But that's all for now. If you people are interested, I will keep you posted on my progress of tackling my own backlog.